Jim, last time we talked about grief and how sometimes when a person loses someone, they feel this big gaping hole in their gut. And you mentioned that there's a tool that you use to fill up that hole. So talk about what that tool is.
Sure. So that aspect of grief is you gave up your seniority first to this person I love, and they climbed into that space, and then they leave and they take their energy with you, and that's that hole. And so the hole is just an emptiness where you are no longer occupying your space. So one of the tools that we use is 2 white roses. And we explain this a lot more in Mastering Alchemy. But basically, if you think about a passage that's right in the middle of the Lord's Prayer, forgive me for my trespasses while I forgive you for your trespasses. Very simple concept. And so these 2 white roses, if you sit quietly, close your eyes, and create 2 white roses in your mind, one representing the other person that's left, and one representing you. Now, this is not overly successful when somebody is in an extremely emotional space, because you're giving up your seniority to the emotion. I'm in pain, I'm in loss, I am. And so the ability to accomplish the task is challenging when you're not there to accomplish the task. But when you get to a place where you can sit down and basically be a little calmer and realize that I'm simply going to collect back up my energy and give back to them what is theirs. That's what that statement means. So you have these 2 roses, and you have one for you and one for them. And so you say to your rose, collect up from their space all of my energy, where I've left myself, in all of my I love yous, I hate you, why did you do that, we had so much fun. No judgment on the emotion or the event, just collect me back up. And this rose will sometimes turn color, it might get smaller, it might get bigger, none of that matters. But there'll be a point where it'll say, I'm done. You'll kind of have a sense, I'm done. And then at the next step is say to their rose, collect up from my space. I'm going to give back to you what is yours. All of the energy that's you've left in my space. I love you, I hate you, all of those kind of statements. And same thing, the rose may turn color, size, shape, doesn't matter, and it'll say, I'm done. And at that point, there begins to be more of a balance. And so if it's a challenge because you're in the emotion, but you might do this once or twice, and just to kind of get yourself more disengaged and be kinder to yourself collecting you up, and be kinder to them. You can be angry, but the point is it's their energy in your space. You don't want to keep carrying it around.
So once...
And then last part is then when you're kind of at that space of balance, then say hello to both roses, explode their rose like a firecracker, and allow it to go back to them in neutral. There's no I hate you attached to it, it's a neutral. And then collect in your rose, you explode your rose and let it come back and kind of fill you up as if it was sunshine coming into the body.
And it's going to take a few times of doing this.
It can take a few times. You can have it accomplished instantly, one time. But that doesn't usually happen because you've got so much emotion in this. You don't really realize that this is baggage in your space, energy that's not yours. And your energy is not doing you any good when you're over there in their space. And so that process, there's more opportunities with it, but that simple explanation will help people get out of grief.
That tool for making separations from someone who you've lost and filling that hole, using the 2 roses, is it possible to do a similar exercise clearing to help someone die, someone who's suffering and it needs help?
Yeah, this is important too, because this is very not well understood. Assisting somebody dying, we've talked about it in a couple of those components, but it really is about giving them enough room to find that spark within themselves to take them out of the body. And when everybody is grieving over them and wishing they wouldn't die or wishing they would die, whatever it is, effectively everybody's energy is in that person's space just weighting them down. So you as an individual, whoever the you is, if you can begin to recognize that you can care about this person, you can love this person, they're your mother, father, husband, wife, you care. But caring and being in their space are two different things. Mm-hmm. And so in this case, when you come to the realization they're leaving, you know, there's no treatment, there's no coming back from this space. One of the things that you do is you effectively just start to call your energy back. Mm-hmm. And same tool, create a rose, imaginary rose in your mind, and give it the instruction to begin to withdraw your energy from their space. Now, in this case, it's not like ripping your energy out. It's very gently removing the weight that is imposed on them in this circumstance. They don't look at you and say, why did you stop loving me? They are in a different configuration. So you begin to pull back your energy. You can say to that person a lot of time, you know, just find balance is what you're saying. But grounding somebody else is not a violation of somebody else. So use those grounding tools to begin to siphon off some of that energy that's not theirs.
So 2 questions. That sounds like a very loving thing to do.
Oh, absolutely. It's the very appropriate thing to do because you're giving them the room to experience themselves mm-hmm. in a very specific event, a closing event in their life.
So the second question is, I can do that, but here's my sisters and brothers and neighbors and all around the bed, and they're in their space. Is there anything I can do? I mean, I can't tell them, you know, get out of her space. Is there something I can do to get them out of the dying person's space?
Well, if you are in a reasonably good place, and if you have a set of skills, I mean, that's what mastering alchemy is all about, is being able to say to them in a very calm, respectful manner, not imposing any way, you know, take a breath and step back and let's give him a little bit more room. So let's allow her the space. And you can ground those other people. You can sit in a room and, for those of you with skills, begin to just change the vibration of the room. Sit in neutral, sit in well-being, sit in respect or loving, and just kind of set that blue or light yellow or light color coatings mm-hmm. into the room and create a calming vibration. And people see that. They don't recognize it, they don't say it out loud, but you really have a lot of capacity when you can manage yourself and be in a space where you can observe, choose, and act without being in a reactionary mode.
So even though they're not, they don't know anything about the tools, if I sit and I radiate out a color and a series of words and really create a bubble around this room, they're going to feel it. Yes. And they're going to change their yes. behavior toward the dying person.
Yes. But understand that process is not imposing on or directing, controlling. That's not the tone of the words. You're basically creating a warm space. It's as if somebody said, turn up the heat, and you went and turned up the heat. You're sitting there just in this very calm, radiating space, and basically allowing everybody to match you. Uh-huh. And some of them will, and some of them won't. But the point is, it's there for those that do. And the person dying very often is very capable of recognizing what's going on.
Uh-huh. That, what you just described also sounds like, and we don't have to talk about this right now, that tool of setting the energy of the room would work for business meetings, or phone calls, or any situation where there's an imbalance of people's intentions.
Yeah, so you're seeing this very correctly. What you're really doing is aligning yourself in well-being, grounding yourself, beginning to be clear about who you are, and then applying a set of tools to numerous circumstances to create an environment where well-being can occur. And so if you turn up the temperature in a very freezing cold room, it will change the interactions. If you create laughter, you change the structure rather than going in argumentative. So as you begin to play with words, you begin to play with these various tools, begin to play with color, begin to play with sound, but mostly intention and attention, you can create a very significant environment, whether it's somebody dying or a business meeting or a relationship you would like to have. How would you like to experience it?
Very good.
That's what these tools do.